Update. Would I be the a-hole if I took my son and his friends out for his birthday instead of my wife and stepdaughters? Original post. I, male 42, have 3 kids. A son, Isaac, who's 12, almost 13, with my ex who is no longer in the picture, and twin stepdaughters from my wife's previous relationship, Emma and Ava, 7 females. Isaac's 13th birthday is coming up next week, and he said that he wants to go to the movies and asked if he could bring 2 friends along. I agreed, and we planned a day out of fun, arcade, pizza, and a movie. These are all activities that I know that my son and his friends who are nerdy middle school boys would enjoy. When I told my wife about our plans, she suggested that we should have a family outing instead and proposed a local kiddie play place that my stepdaughters apparently love. I said that Isaac and his friends would be very disappointed and that he wouldn't have fun at a kiddie play place. She tried to convince me that Isaac could still have fun because there was an arcade there too, like 2 claw machines, a pinball, and a small DDR machine. She also said that since he sees his friends at school every day, family time should be prioritized over friends. I told her that it was unfair to force Isaac to spend his birthday at a kiddie play place instead of with his friends, and she accused me of favoritism and not loving my stepdaughters as much Isaac. This hit me pretty hard because I grew up with a stepfather who neglected me in favor of his own kids, and I've been trying my hardest to be the father figure I never had. I've been spiraling down a rabbit hole of doubt about my own choices, and for the sake of my own sanity, would I be the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Say, I would never ask the girls to spend their birthday doing something Isaac wanted to do, and you should show the same respect. Also, she's gaslighting the heck out of you, and I'm betting it's not the first time. She accused me of favoritism and of not loving my stepdaughters as much Isaac. OP needs to turn this logic around to expose the hypocrisy of his wife. Why are you letting the non-birthday children dictate where the birthday child gets to have his party? If this will be the new standard for the children going forward, then I hope you enjoy having Isaac decide where Emma and Ava will be celebrating their birthdays. OP, please read the top comments. Your wife is manipulative AF. He is afraid that he is the neglectful stepfather, but he just fails to see that his wife actually is the neglectful stepmother. That if he keeps trying to not be the neglectful stepfather, he is going to become the neglectful father. I can only congratulate him on marrying his own stepfather. The cycle continues. You would not be the a-hole. Ironically, if you did go along with your wife's idea, you would be showing favoritism to your stepdaughters over your son. Stand your ground. Your wife is emotionally manipulating you. This is so true. Why should a 12 or 13-year-old have to go to a kiddie place for his birthday? Maybe she should stop showing favoritism to her daughters over OP's son. Such ridiculous logic. Not the a-hole. Let Isaac have his day that he picks for his birthday. You're showing favoritism by not making your son's birthday all about my children. Where does this woman get off? If a spouse treated my child like this, the door couldn't hit their behind fast enough. Not the a-hole. Now for the update. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who commented on my last post for opening my eyes. Folks said that there was more to my wife, who I will be calling Erica, than I knew. Y'all said I should talk to my son about what went on behind my back, and I did. And I regret not doing so earlier. Yesterday, my son had a day off school, teacher prep day I think, and I took the day off of work. After Erica left to go to her job and drive the girls to school, I sat my son down, and starting gently, I asked him about what Erica was like when I wasn't around. I worked pretty late, so this was fairly often. At first, he was vague and hesitated to say anything bad about her. This set me on high alert, as it reminded me vividly of a similar conversation from my own childhood, and I assured him that he could be truthful with me. After some reassurance, he finally started talking about what she was really like. Here is a non-comprehensive list of things he told me about. He was not allowed to go to his friend's house down the street, which I normally, as we've known the family for years. He was berated and yelled at for spending time alone in his room. He was berated and yelled at for not playing with the twins. He was made to watch the twins while Erica ran errands, where she was often gone for hours. He was told that I would be angry with him if he didn't obey her or spoke badly of her to me, which I again reassured him that I was not angry or upset with him. Needless to say, it was an emotional conversation. I'm feeling very guilty that this all happened under my nose. I'm blown away that the woman I thought was the love of my life could do that to my son. I married a woman who is just like my stepfather, and I don't know how to come to terms with this. We went out to lunch to wind down and spend some more quality time together. When we got back, I had him pack a suitcase in case we had to leave. I also packed a suitcase. I was so furious with Erica. I never wanted to see her again. More importantly, I never wanted her in the same house as my son. Erica arrived home with the twins and was shocked to see me waiting for her at the table. I sent the twins to their rooms and my son was already standing by on his own and gestured for her to sit down, and I confronted her about her treatment of my son. At first, she tried to say that he was making things up for attention, that he was jealous of the twins for getting some of my love. I shut her down, and she then pivoted to the "he's older, so he needs to sacrifice for his younger sisters" angle, which I also shut down. As a last-ditch effort, she again accused me of not loving the twins. I got really angry at her then, because as you all pointed out, she was using my childhood trauma to manipulate me. In the end, she admitted to favoring her daughters, but said that it wasn't wrong because every mother has their own kid's best interest at heart. And why would I care about a kid who isn't mine? My blood just ran ice cold. I texted my son to get his suitcase and get to the car, and calmly told her that she could expect to be contacted by a divorce lawyer soon. I'm staying with my son in a hotel right now, and looking at apartments, divorce lawyers, and child therapists in our area. I'm angry, I'm sad, but mostly I'm disappointed in myself for letting it go on for so long. I hope my son can forgive me one day, even though I'm sure I don't deserve it. I wish the best for your daughters. But screw you, Erica. I'd also go to family therapy with your son. You didn't knowingly put your son into this situation, and would never have done so. You did the most important first step. You got him and you the heck out. Unfortunately, victims of abuse have a higher chance of dating or marrying an abuser. At the same time, people like your soon-to-be ex also intentionally mask their real behavior and motives. She most likely never loved you, just what you could do for her. You were calmer than I could be. I have wanted to choke her. Oh, trust me, I wanted to throttle her. But if I went to jail, my son would be left in her care. How long were you married? I'm hoping not long because I'm feeling so bad for you and your son. I hope nothing but the best for you guys. We were living together for 3 years, married for 2.5. I'm not entirely sure how long her mistreatment of my son was going on, but from the way he talked about it, it's been for a while. My heart breaks for all the late nights at work, when I trusted that Erica was looking after the kids, but she was actually abusing my son, or had left the kids all alone. Maybe if I would have been home more often, I would have caught something earlier. I suppose I shouldn't dwell on the past too much. That's not healthy. Thank you for the kind words. Opie, I'm sorry this had to end this way, but at least you listened to your son and took action for him. I begged my mom to leave my awful stepfather and she never did. He left her after discovering an affair she was having. I did the same. I showed her new bruise every day, but she always dismissed me. What did you do to deserve it? Was her favorite saying. Solidarity, my friend. Internet hugs to you if you want them. Wow, it's amazing that how, as a mother, she's allowed to have her own kid's best interest at heart and not care about a kid who isn't hers. But you, as a father, aren't allowed to have your own kid's best interest at heart while caring more about kids that aren't yours to not show favoritism. Pot to meat kettle. It was like she went above and beyond to deprive your son of any happiness and relationships outside of the home/family, and not for the sake of a family bonding. Aside from parentification/babysitting, she was isolating him in a way that you would normally attribute with abusive adult relationships. Very sociopathic in nature. She was keeping him under close surveillance or a prisoner in his own home. I'm very glad that you realized that something was off and reached out for unbiased opinions when you felt you were being manipulated. You trusted your gut, and your son will thank you for it in due time. I don't think you have to worry about receiving forgiveness from him because you have always been standing up for him whenever she tried to interfere with his plans. Both the camping trip and birthday celebration comes to mind. And you did spring into action to escape her clutches versus ignoring the problem like most parents do. I doubt that an awful narcissist like Erica will admit to it, but by not trying to be a good mom to your son, she caused her daughters a great dad. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friends to buzz off when he said I was taking advantage of her? Original post. I, male 25, and my wife, female 24, have been together for 6.5 years. About 3 months ago, I lost my job. This was sudden, but not at all unexpected. When I got home with the news, my wife and I sat down to have a serious conversation. The gist of it was that I would keep to our original plan of paying 50% of rent and bills, but that she would take over most of the other household expenses. This includes groceries and other related necessities such as pet food. A few weeks after this conversation, we had another to redistribute chores. This was more for me than for her. Things weren't getting done when I wanted them done, and she was having a hard time maintaining her half of the chores. She said she was too overwhelmed with her new job and the chores, and she was falling short, and was sorry. I said that I would take on everything, and the only thing she had to take care of were the litter boxes, 'cause I just hate cleaning litter boxes. In exchange, she offered to pay for everything, and the only bill I would be responsible for would be 50% of rent. We both walked away happy, and this has been our arrangement since. A week or so ago, we went over to a friend's recently purchased house to hang out and check the place out. It was going well, but then her friend said something snarky about how I would have so much free time to fix stuff since I'm unemployed. I thought he was asking for help and replied that I wouldn't mind. He'd just have to give me a heads up. He asked why, since it's not like I'm doing anything. I reminded him we have a 5-month-old puppy that needs minding, a house that needs cleaning, and meals that need cooking. He huffed and called me a freeloader, saying that he knew my wife was paying for just about everything for us. It seemed so out of the blue to even mention. I said she might be buying the groceries, but I'm the one cooking them. That she might be paying for the lights, but I'm the one cleaning them. I've worked really hard to make sure no one gets to call me a bum, and my wife has deeply appreciated all of that effort. So much so that I know she talks to her friends about her homemade lunches and snacks and cookies. I told him I knew he was jealous that his girlfriend didn't talk about him the same way, and if he was so pressed in making me look like a worthless freeloader, he might want to remember who put the $50,000 down payment on their house, because I knew it wasn't him. I left with my wife shortly after, and she said I took it too far. At the time, I had felt like I had been matching his energy, but thinking about it now, I don't know. Was I the a-hole? Added to add, for those wondering why my wife was still doing her share of chores originally, it's because whilst she was unemployed, I still did my half. She didn't want to ask I do what she didn't. It was only after that week where I noticed she was struggling that we sat down for the second convo, where I offered to take it all. My wife and this guy's girlfriend have been friends for literally a decade. I've never minded that she tells her best friend everything about us because her friend does it too. Thus, how I knew about the down payment on the house. No one's talking about anyone behind backs. To answer a common question, am I currently looking for work? Yes and no. I'm trying to start my own handyman business, and although things have been going okay, I'm not making $1 million. So far, it has been just enough to get by, and that's fine with my wife and I, because the strain for 50 to 60 hours weeks was almost too much for us. Since I've gone part-time, we have been better than ever. So really, I'm a part-time house spouse. I have been turning in applications as a backup plan, in case anything happens and I need to start making real money quickly. What was my wife doing during this, or did she say anything? This was a quick look over of the house. We weren't planning to be there for very long. After the guy and I exchanged words, my wife snorted a bit of a laugh and we moved on. Since this happened though, the guy has not been responding to any texts from my wife, which is why she said I may have taken it too far. I thought I was matching his energy, but thought I'd bring it here just to see what a third party thought. Now for the comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. How you and your wife split your responsibilities are your business, and no one else's. Exactly. Not the a-hole at all, OP. He messed around and found out, and got put in his place. What he refuses to realize is that you're a real man that doesn't mind helping your spouse with the housework, the cooking, the cleaning, and so forth. Real men who are not ego-driven for points from ordinary society, they show by their actions backing up by their words. And I can tell you that your wife appreciates and loves that about you. At this point, I don't think he is helping his wife with the housework. He's doing his part in the household, and sounds like he's good at it. Not the a-hole. Your wife's friend is a sexist dum-dum, and I wouldn't be surprised if he holds the hots for your wife and is trying to drive a wedge between you and her. He's jealous his girlfriend doesn't act the same way Opie's wife does, is where I was like, yup, dude has a crush on Opie's wife. The friend is doing the macho tough guy jerk thing because he has got the hots for the wife. The wife might want to figure her stuff out too. Now for the update. I spoke with my wife because a few people seemed concerned that my wife might be holding some resentment, and that was why her friend had reacted in such a way. So I asked to sit down after dinner and chat about what happened and told her about this post. She said that she wasn't resentful at all, but that her longtime friend had been sharing all of the things I've been doing, and it has caused some issues in their relationship. Example, my wife's longtime friend asked if for her birthday they could try to make a simple meal together. Neither of them can really cook, but she thought it'd be a fun little couple thing for her birthday. He replied saying I don't know how, and when she said she knew that she just wanted to try, and he said no. No other solutions, no other options, just shut her down. When her friend told my wife this, my wife went off about how he was being a crappy partner, and Opie would never. This was about a month ago. I had not been aware of that interaction until now. My wife suspects they had a long conversation afterwards, and that the guy resents me for causing some kind of rift in the relationship, which explains why he lashed out of the blue like that. She said that's also why she thought I had gone too far, because he was already in an emotional state, and I had done nothing but make it worse. She agreed that he deserved a clap back, but thought I could have been the bigger person. I double-checked that she was okay with how we were doing, and she said she was happier than ever because I'm around almost all the time, and she never gets a chance to miss me, and that was that. As for the guy her best friend is dating, I don't know. He seems like an okay dude, but the more I hear about him from my wife, the more it ticks me off, and I worry for her friend. I've already had to have one come to Jesus talk with him after he yelled at his girlfriend so badly that she called my wife in tears. I drove across town at 2 a.m. to tell him to get his act together or leave. He promised to go to therapy after, but I haven't heard anything about that. I want to tell her to leave him, but situations like this are never that easy. My wife told me to shut my mouth in front of a bunch of people at a kid's birthday party. Original post. My wife and I are at odds lately over her sister-in-law, who is also her best friend, married to her brother. Long story short, she bends over backwards to accommodate their every ask, including babysitting, errands, etc. This extends to volunteering me to help them without my knowledge or consent, etc. She never sees my point of view or agrees with any criticism of them I have. We were at my nephew's birthday party today. My sister-in-law is the one who's hosting it, so my wife is super keen for things to go well. Things were going okay. My daughter 3 was a bit upset because her balloon animal had accidentally been popped, so she's standing with my wife getting a cuddle. And a boy older than her, about 5 or 6, sprints into her and knocks her over. She's crying obviously, and I picked her up. My wife is making a joke of it, saying, "Oh, she needs to watch where she's going." I said back to her, "Don't blame her for getting bowled over by the bigger boy." Now, apparently the mother of this other kid was in earshot, which prompted my wife to tell me, in front of one of her other best friends and a couple of other guests, to shut my mouth. Then she had a cheek to tell me to not have a moody face. 15 minutes before this post, I sent an email to a divorce lawyer for a consultation. I finally reached my limit. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. A lot of anxious people pleasers are like this. Once they feel secure in a relationship with you, they stop trying to please you and use you as a tool to please others. Generally, it's because they fear they and their loved ones will be reviled if they don't act like doormats. She is categorizing you and your baby in her head as part of her in a way, and that makes you and the baby subject to all her irrational fears of rejection and ostracism. The displeasure of others are terrifying, but you are not an other. I think I do this on a lesser scale. I'm a bit conscious about it, but I need to stop. You have self-awareness though. You're leagues ahead of Opie's wife. My mom used to volunteer me for things without asking me first. She finally stopped when I did the same thing to her a couple times. I had the same thing happen. I used to volunteer to help with lunch at an elderly home for school cred. The person I helped is part of the music assembly my whole family's part of, and at the same time I wasn't in the fanfare, just percussion. It was just helping from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. on Sundays, so I didn't mind much. It was really fun actually. What annoyed me, however, is when my mother said I would be there on Sunday during Saturday rehearsal, and I only hear either when she woke me up on Sunday morning to go or Saturday evening. She stopped after I refused to go a few times in a row, because I made arrangements beforehand on Sundays when I wasn't volunteering, and forcing my mother to apologize for volunteering me when she knew I wasn't available. Gotta do what's best for your daughter. Good luck, man. This treatment will never stop until you put your foot down. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily true. A good divorce attorney helps though. Now for the first update. Firstly, I'd just like to thank everyone for your responses, supportive or otherwise. Being heard and listened to is such a mental boost. I spoke to my solicitor first thing this morning, and we had a good talk. He knows I am angry and upset at the situation, and he says that he will get myself and my wife in for a consultation if we decided to go down that route. The issue in Scotland is that for divorce where only one party wants out, it can take upwards of a year to get it, and evidence of separation in that period, unless both parties agree to unreasonable behavior as the reason for the courts granting the divorce. So long story short, I can't proceed without her buy-in if I want it resolved fast. So I took my daughter to my mom's after this, and then sat my wife down. I told her that yesterday's situation was absolutely unacceptable, and that if I had told her to shut her mouth in front of my friends, that I'd be getting crucified from everyone we know. I told her she was lucky I kept my mouth shut at a party, and that I didn't care about how sister-in-law would have taken it. We fought again about sister-in-law, and again she defended her actions, saying that I'm the selfish one who won't help out my family when they need it. I then did a perhaps petty move of dropping divorce leaflets I'd printed from my solicitor's website in front of her. I said to her, I absolutely want to help my family, and this is how I do it. I told her about how I was tired of playing third wheel in my own marriage, and I told her that I was not prepared to subject my daughter to a lifetime of this subservience. Finally, it looks like what I've said has had an impact. She cried, and I think she was close to having a panic attack. This made me feel guilty, because fundamentally, I don't think she's a bad person. She's just brainwashed into thinking sister-in-law is the second coming of the Messiah. So she promised that when I've finished work today, we can have a serious talk about things, and she will listen to my concerns. Right now, I'm not buying it, but I owe her and my daughter at least a chance to sort things out, so I'll see where it goes. To answer some questions folks had, I know this seemed like an overreaction to something, but you've got to understand this was the latest in a long line of sister-in-law related issues. Some folks have asked if my wife is gay and in love. I've thought about this as a possibility. I didn't ask her yet, but I may tonight. It certainly seems logical given how passionate she gets about it. Thanks everyone for reading, and especially all of you who have DM'd me. I appreciate more than you know. Second update. Hi again everyone. Thanks for all of your continued support and advice. I wanted to put another update on to let you know what was happening. So, we sat down last night for the crunch talks. I have to give her credit where it's due. She apologized for what she said at a party, and she said that she'd also have considered divorce if I'd done the same to her. I reiterated to her that my issue is that she completely makes herself subservient to sister-in-law at our expense. I pointed out how messed up it was, that she didn't immediately take our daughter's side in this incident. The collision was accidental, I think, but I told her that to blame the little one was out of line, which she accepted. I then asked her outright if she had any sort of romantic feelings for sister-in-law. She squirmed and looked a little uncomfortable. She said that a long time ago, at the end of high school, there had been a drunken kiss on a night out, but nothing beyond that. She sort of played the angle that she didn't want anyone, especially her brother, to know about it, and that's why she bends over backwards to make sure sister-in-law is happy. I asked her if sister-in-law had ever threatened to reveal this incident, but she denies that it's even been brought up. She just thinks that if the wider family knew, it would bring up a lot of weirdness. She swears that she has no interest in having any kind of relationship with sister-in-law, and that she's straight. I told her I didn't care about what she did that long ago, but that it needed to stop impacting our relationship in the present, because I am the thinnest of thin hairs away from walking away forever. She surprisingly apologized again and said that she'd really try to work on it. I told her that I needed to see some proof of that, so she can consider herself on probation. I told her that if I feel that it's happened again, I'll be taking our daughter to stay at my mom's. She accepted this, so we're proceeding cautiously. Sorry if this isn't the update you were all hoping for, but I think it's the best thing for the three of us right now. Third update 8 months later. I've posted here many times about issues I've had with my wife, most commonly with regards to her subservience to her best friend turned sister-in-law. She's promised to try and work on this, given how much it has impacted our marriage. But today, I think we passed the point of no return. You see, today is my birthday, though it's now past midnight. This morning, my daughter, who is nearly 4, gave me huge hugs and kisses, which was great. My wife gave me a card and told me that my gift hadn't arrived in the post yet. My suspicion is that she's yet to order it, or ordered it late, whatever it may be. I then logged into my work and did my shift like any other day. My wife was off work, while my daughter was at my mom's for a visit. Nothing special was planned for the evening because there were plans in place already. Just that, those plans didn't include me. Sister-in-law and a couple of my wife's other friends had arranged to go out for dinner and drinks because a voucher sister-in-law had for a particular restaurant expired soon, and my birthday was the only date they could all make. Awful, right? Gets better though, because my wife made a big social media post wishing me a happy birthday, saying how crap it was that I had to work all night on my birthday, which is a complete lie. But it does make her look less bad in public for not spending my birthday with me. The issue is, because she's done this, I now couldn't make plans with friends or family without exposing her lie. So, yeah, great birthday. When I think about how she'd react if I had pulled half the nonsense she has pulled, I can't see it ending any other way than me getting screamed at, even though she's chosen to spend my birthday with sister-in-law instead of me. On the plus side, I did some Warhammer painting after I collected my daughter and played with her a bit before bed. She also asked why mommy wasn't here, which kind of crushed me. Am I wrong to be annoyed about this? Wow, on the social media post. When she sees you, she sees a doormat, so that's why she's walking all over you. You deserve to be treated better. You should have totally called her out on her bluff. It would be fair. Happy birthday, my friend. Why the heck did you cover for her? Go out with your buddies. Have fun. Don't roll over and ask her to pummel you some more. When she's treating you like an afterthought, why do you feel you have to be loyal and sacrifice your own fun for her? Agreed, he is far nicer than I am. I am so next level petty. I would have replied to the post exposing her BS, or at least messaged my family about it. Wish Opie took his daughter out and had a nice meal together. Sounds like his daughter took after her dad, and is so sweet. I've commented on your post in the past. Sounds like her changes didn't last long. You're not a priority in her life. Time to take your self-respect back. Like I've said in your past post, this type of situation warrants an ultimatum, but even then, I think you know what it's time to do. My advice, get your affairs in order before you drop the divorce, as I'm sure she will go scorched earth on you based on the knowledge of that FB post, making herself look good. Stop being the nice guy. All she cares about is her image. Opie won't stop being the nice guy. She knows this and will continue to walk over him time and again. Anytime Opie will try to stand up for himself, she'll show remorse and everything will be back to normal. Considering how she's good at covering up for herself and planning everything, I won't be shocked if Opie is already painted as a bad guy in front of her friends, while Opie keeps on playing the nice guy. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if cheating is involved, and a sister-in-law/friend is the cover. I've seen this scenario played before. I do agree with you, but that was the conclusion I deliberately left out, as what's going on is bad enough to rethink about the marriage. True. Either way, I can't help but shake my head. I don't get why people put up with disrespectful partners. Now for the last update. Hi again, everyone. I just wanted to say, firstly, thank you very much for all of your responses and private messages. Many of you were supportive, and many of you, rightfully upon reflection, told me that I needed to grow some backbone and sort my things out. I've been sitting on this for a few days because the full events of what has transpired since then have blown my mind and have brought home some very harsh truths about my relationship. But I also wanted to see if what went down would actually stick, and so far, it has. The fun question out of the way first. For those who were asking about my painting, I was painting some Thousand Suns Terminators. So starting the day after my birthday, my wife initiated intimacy. And let me tell you, this was an occasion in itself. I legitimately could not tell you the last time that this happened. It's been that long. I'm thinking to myself, maybe she's feeling guilty about yesterday and she's trying to make it up. But after the deed was done, she turns around to me and says, "Your present won't be here for another couple of days. That will have to do for now." I'm pretty disappointed at this point, not because I had a huge desire for a particular gift, but because she felt that her behavior the day before was fine. And then for her to think I'll use intimacy to cover up my screw-up was also a bit of a blow. Whatever, I've sucked up worse before and powered through. What broke me was her opinion on sister-in-law's birthday. Long story short, for those who don't know, sister-in-law is possibly my least favorite person on the planet due to her parasitic behavior and main character syndrome. Coincidentally, her birthday is a couple of weeks after mine. My wife told me all about her birthday plans for her. She wanted to get her a gift for her favorite massage therapist. What was the big deal? The shop only sells paper vouchers, and it's a 3-hour round trip to the shop. So off she went, again leaving me with my daughter. And what commenced next can only be described as 3 hours of my brain simmering slowly towards an explosion. I took my daughter to my brother's house because I knew that when my wife came back, I was going to explode. When she came back, I was sitting in the living room with a bag packed for me, and in an admittedly petty move, one packed for my daughter. This immediately got her attention, and she demanded to know what was going on. I unloaded it all. It wasn't incoherent, and I definitely got more emotional as I unloaded more grievances. I started by telling her it was unacceptable how she completely screwed up my birthday while making sister-in-law's birthday a major priority. How I was sick of feeling like a third wheel in my own marriage. How I had literally sacrificed my personality on the altar of keeping her happy. How I never saw my friends anymore, yet she could do whatever she wanted. How I take care of the house despite working more hours than her, for not even a shred of gratitude. How she used our lack of intimacy as a tool of manipulation and control. I cried and shouted. She did the same, but vehemently denied all of my accusations. She then demanded to know where our girl was, and I told her. I told her that she would not be using her as a bargaining chip against me. We eventually calmed down enough to agree that I would keep her at our house while she temporarily stayed with her mom and dad. I agreed to drop her off for visits while we worked things out. It's been a few emotionally exhausting days. I feel drained, spent, and tired. But I have my little girl, and I feel like I have done what I could. I don't know what my relationship status is right now. We haven't been speaking, except to arrange drop-offs, and I'm comfortable with that for now. I need some more time before I consider more permanent steps. I've never ever unloaded on her like this before, but Jesus Christ, it felt good, even if she continued to deny everything. God, poor Opie. The wife would definitely build an art room for the sister-in-law if she had a chance, but right now, they both just seem okay with semi-indentured servitude. I wonder once the divorce is finalized, if the wife will make a play for sister-in-law and ruin her relationship with her brother as well. Yeah, he totally just glossed over his wife getting romantic with her best friend, and the feelings she is obviously still holding in. It's weird to me how Opie jumped to, she's afraid of sister-in-law exposing their past kiss, and skipped right over, she's in love with sister-in-law. I'd be shocked if the wife doesn't actually have feelings for the sister-in-law. Her actions are overkill for a drunken kiss years ago. I feel so bad for Opie and the daughter. Total overkill. Nobody is this desperate to keep a once-off drunk snog secret. Opie's wife and sister-in-law's relationship is very similar to my sister and her BFF's relationship, where my sister is the sister-in-law. Her BFF will literally drop whatever she's doing to cater to my sister's every need. My sister is very charismatic and manipulative, and can easily drop anybody in her life without thinking twice. And after her BFF disagreed with her on a couple of small occasions, my sister dropped her. Her BFF comes crying to me, and after a few months, they're friends again. But this time, her BFF never disagrees with her and will do anything, like drive across country by herself for her. Manipulative people love to surround themselves with people that are easily manipulated. This will be a situation where Opie will find himself being happier as a single parent, and his daughter will likely be happier spending time with him. She won't be splitting attention with her aunt like she will while spending time with her mother. Or blamed for other kids ramming into her. Poor little girl. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my wife and her friend anymore over what my wife calls a miscommunication? My wife Emily has a longtime friend Leslie who has recently become a single mother. Leslie does not have a working vehicle at the moment and is working 2 jobs. So Emily took it upon herself to help Leslie out as much as she can. Emily had started asking me to help as well in driving Leslie and her kids around. Taking them to school/appointments, taking Leslie to the grocery store, etc. whenever Emily or someone else couldn't. I agreed, since it made my wife happy, and I understand the kind of situation Leslie is in. But helping has turned into Emily inviting Leslie and her kids over often, or organizing trips that they would like, such as camping or fishing. A few times my wife was unable to attend these get-togethers she organized due to work, and insisted they still take place, leaving me to entertain Leslie and her kids on my own. And since I've known of Leslie my entire relationship with my wife, I didn't think too much about this. The times that it has been me left with her, or sent in Emily's stead to shuttle Leslie around, have made normal small talk with her and her kids. Recently, Leslie's kids were going to be away for a weekend, so Emily wanted to have Leslie over for dinner and some movies. She asked me to text Leslie to ask her over, and when I did, Leslie replied with, "Just as friends, right? I'm not interested in being anyone's girlfriend." I thought that response was out of left field, so I asked her why she'd even say that. And her response was pretty much, "No guy would be asking me and my kids how we're doing or helping me out unless he wanted something in return." I told Leslie it wasn't anything like that, and then showed my wife the conversation, and informed her I would be stepping back from helping her with anything involving Leslie, and to leave me out of any future plans. I also offered to show her the rest of my phone and anything else. Emily believed me, but she still talked to Leslie about it to see what had given her that impression, and accordingly, she gave Emily the same answer. A few days later, Leslie apologized to Emily and told her that her emotions and mind were just all over because of a down day. That's fine, but I'm still not willing to help her or my wife out anymore as I had been, because I don't want any repeats or accusations hurled at me when I was just helping as my wife asked. Emily thinks I'm overreacting and should just brush it off, because it was just a silly miscommunication she had on a bad day. Am I the a-hole? Additional info. The text I sent Leslie about the night was, "Emily wants to know if you'd like to come over for dinner and some movies on Saturday." That's why her response was so out of left field. I sent the text because Emily was busy on her phone and wanted to know ASAP so we could make our weekend plans. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Cringe friend. Could have gone a lot worse. Do not help her unless your wife is around. Ew, Leslie. Her mentality that men and women can't be friends without ulterior motive is disgustingly gross on its own, much less about the husband of her friend who had been helping her out. Not the a-hole. I noticed she didn't apologize to you. She accused you of trying to cheat on your wife. That is no small thing to overlook. Yes, this is huge. Not only did she imply that you would cheat on your wife, she straight up said in writing that you were courting her for more. Hell no. What if your wife didn't believe you that you weren't cheating and sending her those signals? That kind of thing can destroy your relationship. Nope, 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 nope. What happens if Leslie gets mad or has another down day and tells your wife you were inappropriate towards her? Nope, not the a-hole. I'd put a hard line in the sand on this. Edited to add, if I were your wife in this situation, I'd be the one shutting it down. Leslie could be unhinged. You don't know. You do know she's been accepting your help, fully believing that you wanted something in return. Nope. It only takes one accusation to ruin a man's life. Since this isn't your direct friend, stay away, just in case. Not the a-hole. Be safe. Justice doesn't care what sex you are. Buffalo Bills former punter is living through that right now. After watching that guy get dragged through the dirt all last year, that whole story is so gross and his life was ruined by an evil person. This type of nonsense is why many men won't coach kids' sports teams anymore. Too easy for someone to misinterpret their intentions. It's also why you'll rarely see men teach elementary. They can be completely above board, but still the rumor mill starts churning. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my grieving ex-mother-in-law not to move closer to her own granddaughter? My 40s female ex, 40s male left our daughter Zoe and I very abruptly 6 years ago and moved from the US to another country with his affair partner. His mom, my mother-in-law, was initially sympathetic, but when the affair partner got pregnant, she moved to their country to be closer to her grandchild. He and the affair partner later got married and had another baby. It did felt like a betrayal at a time from Zoe's point of view. She lost her dad as well as her grandma. She would visit her dad on some school breaks and part of summer and see her grandma there. And we'd keep in contact via FaceTime, but it wasn't the same. However, by that point, I was marrying my second husband whose family adores Zoe, so that softened the blow, and we also moved to a different state. My ex passed away in 2021, which was devastating for all of us. Initially, mother-in-law stayed on to support her young grandsons and my ex's poor grieving wife. But without my ex there are some immigration/visa issues, so she's choosing to move back to the US. She called me and said that she had decided to move to our state to be closer to Zoe, who is now 12. She has no other connections here. I said we'll be happy to invite you to birthdays and maybe get together for Christmas Eve, but that our family is busy these days. And Zoe's about to enter her teenage years, so she should take that into account. She started talking about wanting to spend a lot more one-on-one time with my daughter. I said frankly that she had lost the right to demand one-on-one access years ago, and she should bear in mind that Zoe was ambivalent at best about her, and with her entering her teen years, that's probably wasn't going to change. Mother-in-law said she was grieving, and this was her late son's old daughter and her blood. I said she had all but abandoned Zoe, just as her son had, and she couldn't expect to just pick up where she'd left off, and that Zoe now had step-grandparents who played a part in her life that mother-in-law had effectively left vacant. I said she could move where she wanted, that was her choice, but don't count on this relationship. She was very upset and accused me of trying to erase her Zoe's father and paternal family to make room for a stepfather/stepfamily, and has said that I'm alienating her Zoe against her. For example, she's upset that I told Zoe in passing that she was having visa issues months ago because it interferes with her "I'm coming back just for you" narrative. And the truth is that I've always made sure Zoe's nice/civil, but even before my ex died, I haven't done much to encourage Zoe to deepen the relationship with her grandma. It was hard for her to visit her dad and see mother-in-law being her half-sibling's grandma. She also has complex feelings toward her half-siblings and stepmom. She knows mother-in-law is moving back, but I didn't tell her that mother-in-law wants to move here yet. As a parent, I don't know if it would be healthy for her, especially since I don't think mother-in-law can be trusted to stick around if she gets a better offer. But maybe it wasn't my place to tell her not to move. Not the a-hole. Zoe's not an accessory that can be shoved to the back of the drawer and then pulled back out when grandma wants. Had ex-mother-in-law's son not died, she would never have contemplated moving back nor making any real effort to be closer to Zoe. Zoe is not her consolation prize now that her son has died, and visa issues mean she can't stay with a second family. Exactly what I was going to say, that if the ex hadn't died, then the mother-in-law wouldn't have made any effort to get close to Zoe, probably ever. I totally understand wanting to be close to what you have left of your son, but it doesn't mean you get a pass. Not the a-hole. You told her she could do what she wanted, but not to count on Zoe's mandatory attention. That's just setting a healthy expectation for a teen who might feel abandoned by her grandma. You could have said it more gently, but you have every reason to feel heated on your daughter's behalf too. At the end of the day, you're just setting expectations so mother-in-law can make the right decision for herself. Exactly. Grandma might not want to hear the kid's been hurt and still has some feelings about it all, but the alternative, meaning not telling her and letting her find out after the move, would do more damage. Letting her daughter know about the visa issues and protecting her from that emotional manipulation of, "I moved back because I missed you," was right too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she's an awful mom for using her savings to help her boyfriend? Before going to college, I asked my mom to help with tuition, and I'd find my own way for accommodation and general money. She said no, and that I should just work harder. Fine. So I got 2 jobs and managed to earn a scholarship in my second year. For my graduation, I had to pay for my own party because she said she wouldn't. When I got offered a job across the country, I asked her to assist me with just the first month's rent and I'd pay her back when I got paid. She said she couldn't, and I had to let the job go despite it literally being a golden turkey given to me on a silver plate. But whatever, I managed to get another job closer after 6 months of unemployment. All this time, she had a savings account with money she'd been saving and what my late stepdad left her. There's a lot of money in there, and it wouldn't have rendered her destitute to have helped me in at least one of these occasions. But it's her money, and I'm really not an entitled kid, which is why I never brought it up even though I've always known about the account and always let go after she said no. She used to say it's for her retirement, and I completely respected that. Now, she's been dating Dave for about 5 years, and recently Dave got into trouble with the law and needed bail money. A lot of money. 6 figures. And my mom paid it. Not only that, but she's going to pay for his lawyer too, all from the savings account. When I heard this, I got upset because what in the flying duck? She didn't even consider helping me out, but didn't waste a second hopping to the bank for her troublesome boyfriend? So I told her she was a crappy mom and unsupportive. Then we had a back and forth where she called me ungrateful and entitled. So am I the a-hole here? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You called it like it is. Like you said, you're not entitled to it. However, it doesn't make her any less of an a-hole for her choices. Exactly correct. The mom is a crappy mom. She wasn't willing to help her daughter's schooling or housing, and thus made her life hella difficult, but is willing to help her boyfriend deal with legal problems. And has the nerve to tell Opie she's ungrateful? Ungrateful for what? That you did the frigging bare minimum that's mandated by law? Get out of here. Not the a-hole. And frankly, I'd go low or no contact with the mom over this betrayal. Opie was shown she is not, nor ever was, a priority for her mom. Why stick around when you aren't valued? I'll never understand parents like this. I couldn't imagine putting a love interest over my kid this way. Not the a-hole. It's going to be glorious when you can tell her I told you so smugly, when she realizes she wasted all her money on that flea bag. Even more so down the road when she inevitably comes to you with her handout. Tell her she should have just worked harder and she'll need to get a job if she needs money that badly. Not the a-hole. I firmly believe that when you have a child, you are financially tied to that person for life, not just until they turn 18. It would be one thing if your mom was actually saving that money for retirement, but she's made it that clear she wasn't. She was saving it for some deadbeat loser who allegedly did something so awful his bail was into 6 figures. You're not entitled for asking for help from your mom. Your mom is the a-hole for repeatedly refusing to help her child with very reasonable expenses, and then turning around and throwing it away for some guy. Might be time to distance yourself from this person who has failed you time and time again, and clearly does not have your best interest at heart. You'll probably hear from her again when she needs money for a nursing home, and then it'll be your turn to tell her she should have worked harder, and that she sounds entitled. No, you are not the a-hole. Your mother's a huge one, though. I totally understand saving for retirement. That makes sense. Spending money on a deadbeat boyfriend for his bail and attorney? No, that's what makes her a huge a-hole. Opie, you sound smart and capable. Your mother has issues, apparently, by putting her terrible boyfriend ahead of her daughter's education. I'm speechless. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to feed my sister-in-law after she gave her food to her dogs? My husband and I threw a barbecue on Saturday for the whole family. Mother-in-law, father-in-law, 2 sister-in-laws, 4 brother-in-laws, all their kids, my parents, and a few cousins. It was a large gathering. Both sister-in-law and brother-in-law brought their dogs, 3 total. I didn't really want the dogs here, but at the same time, I kind of just sucked it up because we were going to be outdoors anyways. Anyways, sister-in-law's dogs are extremely high energy and food-driven. One's a giant Rottie, and the other is some sort of Russian Chihuahua. I think that's what she said. So a small lap dog. Brother-in-law's dog is fine. Black Labrador. He is old and just kind of lays around looking for pettings. So we start dishing out plates or whatever, and my sister-in-law is just waiting and staring at us but not saying anything. When we get everyone's food, she goes, where's their food? And points down at her 2 dogs who were standing by the grill begging. I told her that I'm not feeding her dogs food that cost me over $300. I purchased this food on my dime, and I'm not going to see it go to a dog when other people could want more food. She said something to the effect of, well, what the hell are they supposed to eat then? They eat with us for every meal, and now they're just going to be sitting here thinking they did something wrong because you won't feed them. So I responded with all due respect, that is not my problem. You should have figured something out instead of expecting us to feed your dog steaks and burgers. Anyways, she ended up putting her food on the ground for her dogs and sat with her arms crossed the whole time, glaring at everyone around her while they were eating, saying, that sure looks yummy. Good thing the rest of the family gets to eat. My husband kept coming up and saying, just gave her a plate, hun. She's causing drama. But I refused. She gave her plate to her dogs, who shouldn't have been fed the food I purchased anyhow, because I clearly said no already. And I'm not going to give in to the entitlement when she didn't do anything to contribute. If I allowed her to walk all over us this time, then it would happen over and over in the future. Mother-in-law and father-in-law are on my side, as apparently she pulls the same nonsense at their house. But everyone else thinks I'm an a-hole for not feeding her after she gave her plate to her dogs. Not a-hole. If you ever have a barbecue again, please have some dog kibble on hand, so that after she gives her dogs your nice barbecue, you can pour her a bowl of kibble and tell her to eat up. This is the best piece of advice I have ever read on Reddit. LMAO. Good job, sir. Not a-hole. This does sound like entitlement. Actually, it just about screams entitlement. You and your family should do that every time sister-in-law pulls this crap. Did brother-in-law manage his dog's food? If so, sister-in-law could really learn a thing or two from him. Jeez. Yep, brother-in-law brought his dog a can of wet food to eat while everyone else was eating. Good on brother-in-law for being responsible. I literally do not understand why sister-in-law isn't embarrassed. Narcissists don't get embarrassed. Not a-hole. This is truly unhinged. She's not even good to her dogs, as this is very unhealthy for them. You cannot feed your dogs whatever human food is being served. Not a-hole. Exactly. And if the dogs are used to being fed at the same time, feed them their dog food. It's what I do. Before I sit down to eat, I just feed my dog his food. And if I have any veggies or meat, he can have it. Goes into his bowl after I eat. Dogs can get all sorts of issues from eating seasoned meats.